1:11 p.m. And we will now go back to the amendment that has been proposed by Councillor Peoples and is still yet for the want of a seconder because I haven't asked for one. The council amends. I'll change the line to item E, councillor.
Yep. I've got more to add to that, Mr. Mayor.
I was just about to suggest to councillor, if you're concerned about the interoperability of that you haven't referenced the water tank, which is a separate line item to 5114.
But without 5114 being replaced, the rest of the motion would be council holds off replacing tipper truck 5114. In this year's budget to allow time for detailed investigation.
Still struggling, councillor, where that's going to fit into this resolution. I understand the amendment takes stuff out, sorry to interrupt, but the resolution calls that council receives the financial report supporting the annual budget for the year ending 30 June, ABCDE. There's no resolution about individual items of plan here. All the amendment's doing is taking those individual pieces of plan out of, so they don't become part of the fleet replacement.
So you don't need a reason, you just want...
It can't fit within there, the amendment, so that you can use that in your debate around the amendment, but it won't be needed. The resolution, when it goes through, will be exactly the same as it is, except those reports will have item 5114 switched off and the water tank taken out. The report has to be amended. There's nothing in there. No, I don't see there to be any need. Otherwise, we could have resolutions to justify everything, but then we've got to have one to justify the new planned acquisitions, the old ones. This is just receiving the budget support documents, which then references into the final resolution, the one over the page. So all we're doing here is receiving these reports less, if this is the way you want the council goes, it supports your amendment. Because there's nothing, it doesn't fit into that resolution to receive those reports.
Well, we're going to receive those reports, but what I'm asking is to take...
Your council's amending them to remove in your...
Plan item 5114.
Which is taken out of those reports.
Yep.
Yep.
And we don't purchase the truck for this year. So, my point being is that there's no issue with the water tank then because we've not purchased the new truck.
It's a separate planned replacement. It's not part of the truck. It's a separate item.
Okay. Yeah, well, I thought they were going to be transferable, so you need the truck to put the water tank on.
We've already got 2 trucks. You could put the water truck on one of them. It just requires significant modification of an older piece of plant. So.
Okay. All right. No, well, what item number am I looking for?
No, it won't have one because it's not in existence. It's new.
So, and no purchase of a water tank too, Harley. We've got to get that in there also. So the deduct 5114 and the new water tank. And this is...
So you could just put that after, so remove plan item 5114 and the new water tank and deducts the value of plan 5114 and the new water tank from line item B.
B and E.
It's going in both places. And then after the second 5114, Alan, the same wording again.
Yep.
The council, is just to be clear, what we're discussing here is to amend those reports to remove reference to the new, so the budget is the next one, which is the final decision on it all, but it's supported by these reports. So if it's out here, it's out in the next one.
So really, Sean, what we're saying there is that we're not going ahead with, we're keeping the old trucks and not going ahead with a...
If your amendment's adopted, then the replacement of the old truck and the purchase of the water tank comes out of the budget.
Yes, right.
So the old trucks will be maintained with no trade, and the water tank won't be purchased.
Yeah, right.
That's the amendment that's been moved by Councillor Peoples. Everyone clear on that? Sorry, I need a seconder, and then I'm going to call for debate.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Gary, I would be a possible goal with that amendment if the water tank was not actually removed but to be revised, which still leaves an option if we did want to purchase one, if the need was there.
So are you saying you want to leave the water tank in,
As to be revised, further investigation.
but you want to leave the 50,000 in the budget this coming year, or you just want to revise it down the track to have another look at it?
I'll revise it. Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm getting all different sorts of stories on what the issue is over there. And I personally am not sure if the trucks is actually the real issue, what's actually going on.
So just to reference this piece of plant though, how old is this piece of plant, Rick? 11 years?
11 years.
Yeah. So by the time that if we don't resolve to replace that piece of plant this year, it'll be 12 years old before it's replaced.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have an issue with the age of a truck. I think if it's maintained, it shouldn't be a real issue. But I don't know if the trucks have been utilised to their full capacity, and I'd like to sort of do a bit of investigation of actually what is the real need for the trucks in Arrowby. Whether we really need water trucks or water trucks. But I don't want to pull the water tank out of the budget altogether, because then we've got 12 months before we can do something about it. I'd like to leave the option there if we had to go that way somewhere near the track.
I guess part of the reason about maintaining a modern fleet, a relatively new fleet, and hence the age of the trucks, and all other sort of fleets got either an age in years or hours or kilometres, keeps the turnover, the eventual turnover value of your trucks higher than if you allow them to become too aged to the point that then when you do need to replace it or expend even more dollars on maintaining it, the gap between what you're getting and what you're paying, because the gap for what you're paying never comes down, whereas if your truck's worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 less, that's a cost direct to council that can't be returned. So that would be my only comments about new fleet versus old fleet. So your proposal is different to that, so I'm going to need to see if there's a seconder for that amendment.
I'll second.
Councillor Rogers. Call for discussion on the amendment. I'll loosely term it discussion to allow for a free exchange of views. We won't formally go for and against at this point, so you're free to discuss. Councillor Hill.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to hold off buying truck and tanker till we can have time to have a really good look at and some detailed reports on what is the best way forward for both council and community with these small contractors that we have over there that we're definitely going to affect, in my opinion. And I'd like us to have some more time. I do believe that those 2 trucks that are in question, I know we're only selling one, trading one, but the truck we're looking to trade has got 240,000. It's less than that on the sheet, but I'd say with a bit of extra Ks, it'll have about 240 on it at this stage. The one we're not trading has got 340s, even though the years are different. The older in years of the 2 trucks has got far less kilometres. But I'd just like us to have a good look at our operation, what we need to do, and have some fair income reporting come back to us about what's the best way forward for all sorts of our operation over the Aramac Muddaburra side. I think that those trucks can do another 12 months for us. I don't have any problem with that. And I'd like Council to give consideration that we hang on for another 12 months, do a fair bit more investigating, and then have another look at it.
Councillor Gleeson.
Mr. Mayor, we've had, this all started in December, I think. I'm a little bit concerned about if we don't replace at least one of those vehicles now. Just looking through here, if we don't replace one of those trucks this year, next year we're going to have more vehicles to replace, more than, at least 2 of those 2 trucks plus 2 tractors and a few motor cars to replace if we don't try and stagger it out a little bit.
2 graders.
Sorry?
2 graders.
Yeah, right, I didn't even have to look at that. So I know exactly what Gary's saying as far as a bit more time. I feel as though that in one way I feel as though that we've had enough time. In another way, my personal opinion is it's not necessarily the trucks. It's how they're all organised as far as the water and that goes. Because the water tanker over in Aramac, you only got to look at the things. That water tanker over there doesn't do the hours of other vehicles. But to get back to this, to try and keep things in order and not have a huge year next year, I think that we should go ahead and replace one of the trucks.
Councillor Plum.
I'm of the same opinion. I think that delaying the 2 trucks to the next financial year, as you say, if we were to look at the 2 vehicles we have now and something happened to one of them, we didn't replace it and something happened and it delayed work, you have to kick yourself in the foot. So I'm of the same opinion that we really need to go out there and have a new truck, purchase a new truck.
Councillor Haynes.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of a bit like Tom. I think the truck itself can probably be replaced, but I still think the issue of the water tank needs to be given a lot more consideration. And from the reports I've been told, it's more of a management type issue, like, organising trucks doing the work they're supposed to be doing. If you listen to the gossip, then that's only talk. So I've probably seen some of that firsthand when I actually worked there 5 years ago. There was a little bit of disorganisation amongst it. So I'd be inclined to replace the truck, but I still think the water tank needs to be a lot more revision.
Councillor Arthur.
I've got no issue with replacing the truck or buying the slip-on unit.
Councillor Rogers.
We've done so much consultation on it,
So having the feedback from the general public is probably what's swaying my decision. I would like to retain the trucks if that was possible, if they can easily do an extra year. However, you know, if we need to replace the truck, I'm pretty much similar to Cole. We need to replace it, but the poly tank, I feel like there's just, the community's just been really deeply affected by that for some reason, and I'm not really, you know, I wouldn't support going ahead with the tank.
Councillor, please.
In saying all that, it's got to go in the budget. We can't have it's got 50 written there, but you can buy a tank less than 50. We can't have a $30,000 tag just on a provisor, can we? That, you know, in another
Sorry.
Can we have a $30,000 tag there, so in another 8 months' time, we've done a bit more homework, and another 8 or 9 months' time, we can come back and say, well, we do need a water tank, and it was provisionally passed at that budget meeting, or not? Or is it actually probably, we've got to have it written in stone now?
Well, the decisions today are for a budgeted amount of money to do something, and then depending on the value of it, as to whether council approves the purchase down the track or not, depending on our procurement policy. So lower order things just get done. $50,000 would be under the threshold normally to come back to council. Anything over 200 has to come to council. Rick, can you provide, just to pick up on the point here, 2, 3 odd councillors have made, what's the capacity of that truck to, if it didn't get replaced, where does that leave us with the actual functionality of the 2 trucks that we've currently got if neither of them are replaced inside that 10 years, which neither of them will be if this goes through?
Basically maintaining all the trucks, the 5106 has cost us $25,000 I think this year to maintain, so 5114 sitting around $11,000 to $12,000 to maintain this year. Obviously, if you're maintaining well enough, then everything should be okay. But the older the vehicle, obviously, the more chance you've got of something going wrong. And that's why we replace them on with older age.
And Stephen or Brett or Rick, the other comment that councillors have made here is to work out whether a water truck's really needed or whether there's another option. Can somebody please maybe remind us or point out to us what homework was done to go into the recommendation about this upgrade in the first place?
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to start, and then Brett and Rick can add in any other information. And I think one of the pertinent points is that when we look across the region and we look at plant utilisation and we look at the business case that Alpha's put forward around increasing their water carrying capacity, and I know that area down there has some different distances and access to water compared to Aramac and Muttaburra, but when we look at the actual cost and usage of our fleet and the business case that was put forward, it showed substantially that from a whole of council perspective that water trucks can potentially return a lot better for us in terms of asset utilisation and obviously less wear and tear compared to carting gravel. We've done specific analysis on individual pieces of equipment right across our fleet in all areas, and yeah, we obviously believe that if we're thinking about a whole of council decision and understand the sensitivities in individual communities and how things have been done for a long time, our research and recommendations is put forward on what's going to benefit the whole council area and all ratepayers. So that's really been the focus of what our investigations have been to date. Now, yeah, sure, we could spend more time analysing gravel truck usage and water cart usage and which combination would give us the best outcome, and you could come up with a myriad of different outcomes based on what work we have ahead of us and where that work's going to be. But we are confident in the information that we've reviewed and the recommendations that we've put forward. Brett, what would you like to add?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, when the first Aramac truck was due for replacement this year, and Rick and I met with the senior work supervisor and the workshop foreman at an early stage, and we discussed what the options were, and so that sort of triggered this. Well, let's look at what's best for council, and that's when the proposal went to council. December, I can't remember which meeting it was in December. Based on that discussion, we've since had a number of leadership meetings with the whole leadership team, including senior work supervisors, DMs, and it was unanimous that the way to go for council was to go with water trucks rather than cart gravel, based on the damage that carting gravel does to vehicles, the repair costs, and the return, financial return on water trucks. And then of course Alpha also has a water truck, and they've done a detailed business case for that particular truck, which we've used then as the basis for these trucks as well. And yeah, that business case shows that there's clearly a return for council in water trucks. I know Alpha's slightly different in that there's distances involved, and the terrain's different, but it's if we're thinking about a council, the financial sustainability of council, we've got to look at what plan is the best fit for the sustainability of council into the future. And the whole aim of this strategy was we have basically in each area a grader, a water cart and a roller, two teams of grader, water cart and roller in the Aramac area, Barkey area and Alpha area. And that's the basis of this strategy that we're following.
Mr. Mayor, the only other thing I'd add to that is it's not a new thing for council. Certainly it's new for the Aramac area. I believe they did have water carts there once before, but Barcaldine area, primarily water carts for our trucks. Same with the Alpha area, primarily water trucks. They do cart gravel on short campaign carts when they're not water trucks. But both areas are primarily water carts, and that's what we're looking to do for the Aramac area as well.
Councillors, the
Mr. Mayor, can I provide a reply with the move of the motion?
I haven't even started the formal debate of it.
I
but
thought that's where you were
more
going
than-
next.
Sorry?
I thought that's where you were going. I thought you were looking to put the motion.
No. So we've had some general discussion around the amendment as it's presented. We've heard from the officers. So I will go to debate for those councillors who may wish to speak formally and you wish to open, councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I think there's a lot of things we've got to look at here, and I keep going back that I really would like to have some detailed investigation. I know the officers have said that they've given us a recommendation, but we've seen none of that. And I did send a request guidelines to Stephen about 8 or 9 days ago, which I know he's been busy and he hasn't been able to give me anything yet, but Brett even said at the previous budget meeting that to give us, we needed more time to supply a detailed report on plant use and profitability. This is what you said to us, Brett. And I asked, can I have this please before the 24th of June to make an informed decision on this plant procurement? So we haven't had a chance to have a look at that. I've also asked, can we have an explanation why Aramac plant hours so much less than the other areas? I think that makes a big difference. You know, why do we need a second water truck? That's another question when we have a tanker presently in Aramac that does 547 hours. I know we get told that the float does some of that work too. But I believe we've got an underutilised water tanker already in Aramac that we're not using to full potential, then we're going to buy another one. You know, I just want some consideration given so that we can do all the homework and take into consideration these contractors that we're going to affect. And I know that some councillors are saying that it's not going to affect them, but if we've got 2 water trucks that we're going to use ourselves, we don't look for one of their trucks until we need the 3rd truck. So we've got to affect them, you know, and I feel for those contractors who have come out of a tough time with drought. We're helping other community organisations and businesses across our region with rate recessions and all this sort of stuff and going forward. You know, and I'll give an example. You know, I feel for the whole lot of them, but Fiona and Winky Turnbull have just bought the hotel in Muttaburra, and I reckon they've done it just as a community goodwill gesture from those 2 people and the other couples in with them. They don't really need a hotel, but they've gone ahead and bought that for the sake of their community. They'd have bought it thinking they had a fair bit of work with the water truck in front of them from council. And then we turn around and turn our back on them and say, well, we're going to compete with you. Councillors, I just think what we're doing is wrong. And I'd like to look at other ways, and if we're going to investigate how we can make a dollar and save a buck as a council, let's have a look right across the board, not just at picking on these water trucks. You know, there's plenty of other business we do with a lot of other areas that we should be investigating as a whole and not just doing what we're doing here with the water trucks. And that's the investigation that I'd like to do too. You know, I just think that we're rushing into this a bit, and it's all right for the officers to say that they've had detailed information. I don't know if the truck drivers in Aramac have been spoken to about their trucks. They sit in them every day, what their opinions are. I'll say to you, Rick, the 24,000 that we spent on 3114, did that include the new cockerel?
No, that's just maintenance on the truck.
That's just maintenance on the truck. Is it?
The cockerels are about 30,000 each. Sorry,
Nearly 40.
nearly 40.
You're right, eh?
That's tyres and 3 years and that's tyres and stuff as well.
So,
That'll ebb and flow.
so what about a maintenance on our normal truck in one of the other areas? What's the average for those?
I just checked the 2 bar haul trucks as well. One's had about $10,000 on it, and the other one's very low, it's about $2,000.
Right. So you'd say that because the 3106 is about 12,000, maybe that 10 or 12,000 might be an average?
5106.
Yeah, it was 12 and you said one here was 10.
I think 5106 was the one that was 20 odd. 5114 was about 10, I think.
10 or 11.
Yeah. 11, 12, somewhere around there, so 10. Another one, the Barkey one, was around 10, the other one was about 2. That's just annual maintenance now.
And so the truck we're selling has got the most maintenance on it, Rick?
Sorry, what's that?
The truck we're selling has got the most maintenance on it?
Well, no, there's a theory, and this is where theories differ. If you've spent the money on the truck, if the truck's costing you money, there's two schools of thought. That's the truck you get rid of because it's costing you money. Another school of thought, well, you spent all that money on it, so now you need a return on that truck. So this truck that we're selling is the one that's had $10,000 to $12,000 spent on it. The other one, it's had new tyres and so forth as well. Jenny just showed me the figures there. The other one, which is 5186, 22,500 maintenance and nearly $5,000 in tyres.
So the plant that's been retained is the one that all the money was spent on this year.
So the truck that has cost us the most maintenance, we're keeping.
Yeah, that's right. It's the one with the most cars. It's the younger truck, 9 years old.
It's 9 years old, they've got 340,000 K or 360, I think, and the other truck's got 240. So we're trading that on years, not on kilometres.
Yes.
I don't know, Mr Mayor, I just feel for those small contractors, they've had a tough time. I think we've rushed into this. I think there's so many other areas we can look at saving a buck. I think we're spending too much money on projects away from what we should be doing normally. If we still had the cash in the bank that we had a few years ago, we wouldn't even be looking at this. It's very disappointing to me that we're going to do this to those people at this time.
Councillor, any other councillor now wish to speak against the amendment going through? You don't have to speak either way. You can go to the vote shortly, but if you'd like to speak against it, now's your chance. Councillor Gleeson.
Mr Mayor, the last thing that we want to do as a group is stand here, sit here and have an argument about what's right and what's wrong with and a lot of it is a matter of opinion. I think the management of the vehicles is not very smart at all. When we've got right now at this moment, we've got water trucks from Aramac going over the other side of Muttaburra, and the bloke at Muttaburra who has just bought a pub and whatever, he turned up at Aramac yesterday morning to start work and was told, oh, sorry, we haven't got to work here for you today. He just drove his truck 100 kilometres across there and then turned around and drove 100 kilometres home. That's got nothing to do with buying trucks and who's got what truck and what council yard's got them. That is management. Muttaburra, Aramac has not got a slip-on tank, I don't think. And but at this point in time, I'm not talking about slip-on water tanks, I'm talking about trucks. We're up to that 10-year stage. I feel as though we should stick with our duty and keep going in 10 years, because as I said, next year we're going to be sitting here arguing the point over a lot more vehicles than what we are now. So for the point of this little argument, we need to replace the truck. And if we replace the truck, it should be multi-purpose. Sorry.
Councillor in favour wish to speak? Or does a councillor wish to speak in favour of the amendment? I should rephrase.
Through you, Mr Mayor, can I ask a couple of questions about what Rick said? Is that just like in his last reply? I was just going to ask about the trucks, if they get the tank put on them, Rick, is that, you just mentioned that are they going to be used primarily as water carts? So really they'll change from gravel over to, so I think I was thinking that they were only going to be used as water carts when they weren't, when they weren't like being used for gravel. They were primarily going to be used for gravel, but then just used for a water cart every now and then. So I'm just...
Through you, Mr Mayor, they will switch, so they'll be primarily a water cart, and then they'll be a gravel cart.
And Cockrell.
and compliments. But, yeah.
Just in speaking for the motion, I just feel like from what Steve is saying, there could be a better outcome for but to me, is there a better outcome for the community in a different combination of plan in that area? Like, you know, there could well be, but we just haven't done enough investigation into that, how their community feels. Like, you know, if we do lose a business out of one of those little towns, like say Muddaborough, it's so much more of an impact than like on a larger community. But yeah, I think we need more time with that, so that's supporting that.
Speaker, yes. There being no more speakers, I will speak. I believe our fundamental right is to make sure first priority is that we make decisions that are in the best financial interests of the whole council area directly through our budget. And operations are an issue that we've discussed here a bit today, and we'll have the opportunity to influence by way of this decision, one way or the other. It influences operational decisions right across the council area. We're not operating forever in the time and the space that we are right now, where there's $35+ million worth of work looking in place. Now that's an argument both in favour and against the upgrade. But it means that while that work's in train and you're underdoing the works, whether we're doing it or a contractor's doing it, money keeps flowing. We've got the money, it'll be used to supplement road maintenance. But when we get to a stage where there is no flood damage, road maintenance comes out of our budget. Ratepayers pay for it, FAGS pays for it. That's it. It's the sole extent of where the money comes from. Councillor People said it earlier. If we had the money we had a few years ago, he's dead right. If we had the money we had a few years ago, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, but we don't. We're about $8 to $10 million daily down on where we were at the commencement of the previous term of the last council. And I'm probably being generous. It's probably more like 13, 14 million. But it's definitely not less than 10 on any given day. These sort of strategic decisions should not be rushed into. I agree with councillors on both sides of that argument. The timing of when you put in train a decision like this never going to suit somebody who may one day see reduced hours. But if we wait until we've only got $2.6 million or $2.65 million to spend on road maintenance, instead of we're going to spend this year on flood damage, which doubles as road maintenance in the areas where it's done, we're going to probably spend 4 times that amount of money. If we wait until we've only got $2.65 million and our bank balance doesn't look like it does now, it looks worse because of any number of shocks that could still come out of the funding infrastructure cliff that's coming. And on top of having that in Shire road maintenance, we've also got TMR works and that big, we don't even know how we're going to get them done. If we wait until we don't have jobs on the Aramac-Barcaldine Road and on the Alpha Cap Highway and Aramac Torrance Creek, and we're just trying to subside on road maintenance, and we decide then that that's the time to do it, you do instantly put somebody to a situation where they're not ready. But if you do this sort of decision in a time that allows for 2, maybe 3 years, but definitely 2 years of productive road construction right across the council area, and I mean right across, not localised, it's not like the only flood damages in Aramac, Muddaborough. There's There's all manner of TMR works spread in all 3 districts. If we do wait until all that's done and we have to undertake a decision like this, the immediate shock of it is immediate. Now, I'm not foreshadowing whether it puts anybody out of work or it doesn't put anybody out of work, but the shock of it, whatever it is, to whatever extent it is felt immediately. Now, no one who went on that visit to meet face to face with them contractors could possibly doubt the emotion that they feel about their uncertainty futuristically. And anybody who wasn't there, I can tell you it was raw, it was immediate, and it was real. There was some very practical suggestions come out of those meetings, which I hope does influence those that have the capacity to influence operations futuristically. But what's equally raw, or what will be equally emotive, is if this council continues to slide in its cash to the point that we're having that conversation to somebody getting given a pink slip on their way out the gate. We can't cart gravel effectively as some of the biggest contractors around here can. We can't cart it as cheaply, we can't cart it as effectively. So if we start saying, well, we've got to grade the roads and we've got to get the gravel shifted, the alternative is we get a contractor to do it cheaper than we can do it. Justification for having a truck falls one step further. TMR work falls, which I'm hopeful it doesn't, and I'll be realistic and transparent and think that there's probably good TMR works out 6 to 7 years, but there's not necessarily flood damage. We've been through that. We know flood damage may not come. And if it does, well, this decision's vindicated tenfold. Because if we don't buy this, there's going to have to be another private operator gear up to do it. So we forego that money straight from QR, straight through. So our commitment financially is to the region through our budget. Our second commitment is to our immediate workforce, to our people that we employ. And this sort of decision, in my mind, guarantees them, because we give them interoperability. Not every road that's maintained in our shire every year needs gravel. But no road that gets graded can't have a water truck. Unless, I'll rephrase that, because there's road construction people in the room. It is possible after an inch to a rain to race a grader out and touch a road up, but let's face it, we have 25 wet days a year, so that doesn't happen very often. This year signifies to our workforce that we believe that we've got that strategic justification with our plan to guarantee them the work right through. And to me, that's the priority number 2. And then our third priority is to ensure that we create a workforce environment where our contractors and us can coexist, because we can't do it all. And we can't have an environment where there's no contractors. No area operates without them in our region. Because we can do something ourselves shouldn't signify to a contractor that we don't want them to do it. At times there will be upwards of 5 graders operating in that particular area. And I haven't asked an officer for that advice, but we own 3, and I personally know 2 grader drivers. So that's, if you work on the ratio of a semi and a rigid, or 2 big rigids, that's 2 trucks to a grader, that's 10 grader trucks, 10 water carts. Now once again, I haven't asked an officer of this, but it was provided to me by the contractors. There's up to 8 water carts in existence in that area. Where's 9 and 10 come from? Not that area. So I walked out of here today fully supportive of whatever decision council takes here. But I firmly believe that we need to stick with our plant replacement program number 1. So I definitely support Councillor Gleeson in the truck. Initially, officers, if you'll remember at the start of this, presented both of them trucks. They were deferred. 1, we deferred. Us 7 asked for 1 to be deferred. Otherwise, they both would be sitting in front of us. I definitely think we need to replace our truck to keep our fleet new, and our asset value of our fleet therefore high and the tradability solid. So I'll support either option that council takes on this amendment, but I'm very, very firm that we need to do what we need to do to protect our bottom line moving forward, and that means plant replacement and upgrade. So I'm speaking against. I now call for anyone who wishes to speak in favour.
Through you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Rogers, just let me check that no one else is against, in favour. You all got the right to close, so you're right. All right, thank you.
This is just a question. Is it possible to make an amendment to the amendment? Or do we have to vote on that?
All of those meeting procedures are possible, councillor, but I think there's no streamlined procedure here. If councillors want some version other than what's there, is that we deal with this amendment, and then if it passes, then we don't need to deal with amendments of amendments. If it fails, then we deal with a new amendment. I think it's the most appropriate meeting protocol. So that, Councillor Gleeson.
While in discussion, sort of one more little tiny thing. If you're contracting, I've been a contractor, if you're contracting and you've written and you've obligated yourself to be a contractor, you've got to go where the work goes. I'm sorry. As much as they're nearly friends, some of the couple of those people are friends, close friends of mine. We're not going to put them out of work. But you can't be expected to be a contractor all your life and have the work at your front door. I've been a contractor, and if there's work over there or down there, you've got to go and find it. Otherwise get out of the job. Sorry, I just want to say that.
I've allowed comments out of order here, Councillor Peoples. I'm aware that you're going to get me on meeting protocols, so I'll let you. I'll ask for any other comments before I ask you to close on this debate. There being none, Councillor, you have the floor.
Mr Mayor, I'll just answer one of Tom said that, that they won't run out of work. They run out of work in the last, in the last 8 years that we've been here. They never had work, some of those fellows. We had meeting after meeting with those contractors when Des Howard was the CEO. So, we have had no work from them in the past. Mr Mayor, with regards to your comment with regards to our own workforce, there's no one agrees with you more than me that we look after them too. And they've always been my number one priority, our own workforce. I've never steered from that. I've always been that way.
Councillor, sorry to interrupt. If you inferred from my comments that I thought you did, well, I apologise, but that was not my intent.
I'm just making my point clear through this debate. So I still, and I've always said to contractors, you're last on and first off, and that's how it's always been. But I think we can do this better and do some more homework on it. I don't know if our contractors are going to feel comfortable, Mr Mayor, by, in a couple of years' time, we're going to probably put you out of work instead of right now, I just think there's got to be better ways we can do this so as we all work together and we don't affect those small businesses in those two northern communities after the tough times they've had for a lot of years. And I'm just asking council to consider those small contractors. We consider other businesses. We're doing what we can to help other businesses come out of COVID and what have you. We've got concessions here later on in our budget. But I'm just asking you, can we have some time? And you might come up with an amendment that gives us some time. But I'm just asking, can we really give some thought to those small contractors? They play a big part in those two communities. 4 of them are great families, terrific supporters of those communities. And I'd just like to see if we can find some way that we can do this better and take a bit more time to consider how we can do it. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you for the debate. Can I please put the amendment here? This is not the resolution to receive the reports. I'll put the amendment, please. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried. A motion to amend the resolution is lost. 52452, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry.
Division Councillor?
Please.
Councillor Peebles is called for division. Councillors, can you stand by when Hale is ready and indicate your vote, please? Councillor Dillon, against? Councillor Rogers, in favour? Councillor Arthur, against? Councillor Hanson, against? Councillor Gleeson, against? Councillor Peebles,
In favour.
in favour? Councillor Plum, against? So I now return to the recommendation where we received the financial reports. Do I have another amendment, or are we moving towards receiving these reports?
Reading, Mr Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment.
Councillor Rogers is moving an amendment.
I'd like to just, Hayley, you go put that down so I can. Oh, up, yeah. Could I amend it to, so does it have to be it's not an amendment of the amendment, is it? It's just an amendment, yeah. The
Yep.
council receives the financial reports supporting the annual budget for the financial year ending 30 June 2021 with the noted amendment of, so.
And you're willing to get rid of the water
Just take
tank?
that, so, and just with the new water tank,
You're effectively
From
asking the
item B,
resolution
yeah.
to delete the water tank.
so we replace the truck and we still remove the water tank from line B.
Issue.
Don't you wanna not get the wood? Or do you still wanna get the truck and not the wood?
Yeah, so the truck, that gets taken out of it altogether,
To
doesn't
not
it, the truck?
purchase.
It's just to not purchase the water tank. So the note of amendment, not purchase the water tanker, it's line B, item B.
In item B and it's,
And reflecting.
sorry, in item E and be reflected in item
E,
B. E first
yeah.
and reflected in item B. Seconded to the resolution, Councillor Peebles, I nearly said it for you. Councillors, we just have a discussion here, we're not going to go formal debate. Councillor Rogers.
Well, after this, Rick saying that it was primarily a water cart. I don't know why, but I always thought it was still going to be primarily a gravel truck. I don't know where I missed that. That really, I would like more consideration on the water truck issue, just considering the amount of angst in the community about this one issue and it putting our contractors out of work or our local business people out of work. It's just something that I'm just not prepared to make a decision, like rush into that decision at this time. We've already, we discussed it already back in December meeting, I think, and it's just something that I think needs more research before we can go ahead with that water truck.
Councillors,
Mr Mayor, can I just speak? Do we have a problem here with vendor panel with these contractors? Also? To do with this contracting and this water, is this why, no? Councillor Gleeson spoke of management. Is this part of the management? Are we talking about these contractors sitting down because they're not going on vendor panel properly? Are they? Is this an area that we're having a problem here?
I'm not an expert on vendor panel. I do know that I uncovered last couple of weeks ago, and someone said they weren't getting vendor panel requests for a water truck in Alpha. Well, it's because they don't have a semi-water truck, and only semi-water trucks were being called. So, you know, you don't have visibility as to hire or something if you don't have it. So the people who have within your area semis, that goes out on vendor panel, they will get it. But if it's a rigid call for and they've only got semis, same difference. The only people, correct me officers, but it was your advice at the time. So we're not getting given a go at something was given to me. We're not even hearing that job at Alpha. It was given to me by contract law because I don't have the plant that's required. I've heard the same talk about vendor panel. I see it as a tool. It's not the decision maker. How it's interpreted probably is how the decisions are enacted through that probably is management. This is slightly different. It's not really, but Councillor Rogers is calling for us to replace the plant but not upgrade it to a water truck capability. Bear in mind that there is, even though the tank is a separate purchase to the truck, correct me here, to assist here, there's additions to the truck that are required, such as fittings for switches and remote control. Is that correct? So, yeah. Right. Anyone? Sorry, we've heard Melinda here. I'll go to you, Gary.
I just want to answer Councillor Plum's query to a degree there. I just, from my point of view, and I don't know if this is where Councillor Gleeson was actually going, but when we got that one page the other day, what concerned me was the lack of hours that were being done in Aramac compared to Alpha and Barkle. And that's the areas where I think we need to do a lot more homework and see where our productivity and what have you, and investigate all that before we make these decisions. I think there's a lot of those sort of management issues that come to us in that one page the other day that we should be looking into, Councillor.
Does anyone want to add anything? We've debated a bit of this already to a degree. Does anyone want to add anything that hasn't already been mentioned before I give Councillor Rogers the right to sum up? We put this to the vote. Councillor Gleeson.
Only thing I'd like to say, as I've said, I do believe that we need to replace the truck. If you're going to replace the truck, it should be multi-purpose. I believe the truck should have a ring feeder on it, so that next year we can buy a dog trailer for it.
We already own a dog trailer. That stays in. We've already got the dog trailer.
Well, when you buy another one, you need to be able to utilise. If you're going to buy a unit, you need to be able to utilise it. So yeah, they need ring feeders. They need the air hooked up for a water tank if we're going to buy a water tank. So the truck should be multi-purpose. It's got to have a copper on it. If you're going to buy a truck, it's got to be multi-purpose, and it needs to be multi-purpose.
Councillor Rogers, would you like to sum up?
I'd like just to sum up by saying I'm actually glad, like we've had a lot more consultation, like this time in this budget item than we've ever done before. Like even having it in the Galilee Gazette, even though we probably all were inundated with calls, but at least people knew that it was out there and what was happening, and they were able to give us their opinions on this. And you know, everyone that rang me, they were just mainly concerned about losing important community members or businesses from those little towns, and it was just, yeah, that's the thing that is swaying my decision this way and not have the water tank. It's nothing, you know, yeah, nothing other than that really. I think we just need more time to look at it. I think that there could be other combinations of plant that will give us an economic advantage that will also keep the community happier. But yeah, we need time to look into all that information.
Thank you, councillor Rogers. I put the vote, please. Those in favour of the amendment? Opposed? 2-5, division. Right. Councillor Pickles, just call for division. Councillor Dillon against. Rogers in favour. Arthur, Councillor Arthur against. Councillor Hanson against. Councillor Gleeson against. Councillor Peoples in favour. Councillor Plum against. Councillors, do I have an amendment? We've resolved then that we received the financial report supporting the annual budget for the financial year 30 June 21 as unamended. Already moved. Sorry, you're correct.
It was originally moved.
You're right, sorry. It was moved Plum, seconded Rogers. We've debated the amendments. There'll be no further amendments, there therefore be no further need for debate. I'll put the report, please, that recommendation, please. Those in favour? Against? Carried. 5-2, division.
Yep.
Councillor Peoples, call for division. Councillor Dillon again. Nearly got yourself. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Dillon in favour. Rogers against. Hanson, sorry, I've done it again. Arthur in favour. Hanson in favour. Gleeson in favour. Peoples against. Plum in favour. I'll let you fix it up later.
Yeah.
Before we, excuse me, yes, before we move on to that next, obviously there's been so much discussion fors and against that. Can the office look at the management a little bit more of that area over there, please?
Plant utilisation is definitely something that requires constant attention, and this budget process has probably shone some light into things that may not have been seen before, so
Thank you.
I take that as a yes. Budget 3.1.19, item, the actual budget adoption.
Mr. Mayor, there's a number of attachments that are required as part of the budget. So we have the 3-year financial statements, we have the 10-year financial statements, the 10-year ratios, the statement of how much rates are increasing for the year, a revenue statement, which your revenue statement is basically all the resolutions that we've had to date, compiled into one document, and then our revenue policy, and that makes up our budget. There was a question previously.
Yes, on
Yeah,
3 years
Mr.
now. So can you now?
I think I went off a little early. In
About
the
6.5 hours actually, but anyway.
for the 10 years, statement of financial position for the 10 years ending 2030, our trajectory for the next 3 years is downward for our cash. And then from year 4, 5, 6, we're ending up towards 12 million. Is there I'm sure it's all there in the figures. Is there a simple or easy explanation to that?
So at the moment, we've, as the Mayor alluded to in the previous discussion, our real cash position is a lot less than what's showing because we received $9.5 million worth of flood damage in advance. We received FAG grant, 50% of our FAG grant in advance. There's some other funding that we received in advance. So the underlying cash position is between $10 and $12 million less than what is showing because of all this money that we're holding in advance. So as that work gets done over the next 2 years, we'll do that work for the flood damage, say $9 million worth of flood damage, but we won't get paid for it because we've already been paid. So that cash position will drop back down to what it really is. And then we've allowed them to slowly build that cash position up over the next 10 years.
With some quite conservative assumptions, I would admit, I would expect to use 4 through 10 of that. Would that be correct? Without being unfair.
We're working with QTC on this as well, and they're putting, so these figures that we've done, we've sent that to QTC, and they're putting those figures through their modelling, which we haven't received back yet. So that may shine a different light on the situation, but the advice from QTC is that anything after year 5 it really is an estimate because the world changed. In 5 years, we don't know what grants, we don't know change of governments, we don't know whether we're going to have floods or not. We don't know what TMR works we've got. So it's really it's the years 1 to 5 are your key years that you've got some say over, but even then you don't know what grants are going to be available from year to year because the government doesn't provide projection of grants. It just
budget. Sometimes not even that. They'll just dream one up halfway through a year.
If there's an election, they'll say, "Oh, we've got some money." And
well, that's how Western Queensland started.
That's right. So
it wasn't budgeted money.
So what we just conservatively try to be consistent. The other factor that will come into it is the asset management plans that we're doing. We're hoping to have those. The road one is now complete, so we can feed that in, and then we do water and sewage in airports. We get those fed into the finance system as well. But all that does is tell you what you've got to spend over 10 years in a normal season, but floods for us are major impact, like more than, like that last flood is $30 million worth of damage, so that just throws your whole budget out. It's substantial.
So I guess in a nutshell there, the reason it's going down for the next 3 years is because we're earning money, we're spending money we've already got.
Yeah.
Whereas outside 3 years, when we've envisaged having all that spent, we're then looking at, it'll be just, whatever cash surplus we can budget for each year, we edge up by. So even though this year, I think the cash is projected as a small surplus of cash, we're going to slide 8 million, like it's the most foreign thing in the world to explain to somebody. We're going to slide $7 or $8 million in our ATM in the wall receipt, but yet what we spend, what we earn net of that forward paying grant is actually cash positive, very slightly, Brett. But it's the reality, yeah, we're going to spend money that we've already received, but because of the accrual nature of the way it's reported and received, it all comes out this year.
I'll give you an example as well of what happened in the early years of this council when all the mining was going to happen at Alpha with Hancock Mining, Waratah. So QTC actually came in. We had to project, increase in rates, all the mining revenue. So we had 10-year projections that were, revenue was going to go up. We'd have to spend money on roads and facilities and whatever. And none of it happened. So just like the 10-year forecast was just totally wrong.
Trashed in the first 3 years of itself. So there is work being undertaken with QTC to add some further resilience to our 10-year forecast as of today. I might have alluded to that in some conversations I had with councillors after my trip to Brisbane, that there's the credit review is underway, and part of that is to add some more robust numbers into this 10-year plan, but not going to significantly impact years 1 through 3, which is the core. If you note there, see we're required to do a budget statement of cash flow for 21, 22, 23. Outside that, it's only a forecast. So councillors, I think the thing that we need to place on record here is that across the board rates is 2.12%. We talked about that with the differential rate charge earlier. That's a headline figure to come out of this. I think it's very important that we identify that cash position, which myself and others have raised as a serious cause for concern. It hasn't got any better. It's not getting any better. But I think this budget has been developed in such a way that we've utilised better or more fully grant revenue and discretionary grant onto A, getting stuff finished, and B, bringing it back on the stuff that's required to be done rather than stuff that's nice to be done. So I'm sure with budget discipline and improved fiscal conditions moving forward, council will get even better at that. I welcome stakeholder engagement in our roads and streets policy as we move to adopt a 3 or 4 year rolling plan, which obviously have been fed a little bit by the asset management plan, and informed by engineering and landholder concerns alike and street occupants. All of that will help to add resilience to the budget and our spend moving forward. Does any councillor have anything they'd like to add about any of items A through I, or the support documents? Oh, actually, these are not support documents, sorry, these are our budget documents. Councillor Plum. You just had your hand up, that's all.
Oh no, I was just scratching my face.
Oh. It's fine.
You're a bit edgy, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry?
You're a bit on edge.
Not in the slightest. You're the one that was a bit jumpy when I said your name. So what are you hiding over there on your iPad that I don't know about?
I'm trying to get it off the screen and I can't. That's
Right. You want to get these flash fellas like these from the middle here. They look like they're going great guns.
It's all an illusion, smoke and mirrors.
Okay, councillors. Does anyone have an issue with the budget here they'd like to raise? Can somebody move it otherwise, please? Mitch moved, Councillor Hanson, seconded, Councillor Gleeson. The council adopt the budget. Those in favour? Against? Carried 6-1. Division, Councillor? Oh.
Yeah.
Division or name recorded at 6-1.
Name
Councillor Peebles. Against. Councillors 3-1-2-0. The operational plan, which
So councillors, that was an attachment. We have incorporated the key performance indicators that we worked through with QTC. So at the bottom of each section are the KPIs.
which fall just underneath the amount of money that's to be expended in each section. Two very
So the first part of each goal is straight out of the corporate plan, then the activities that occur under that goal. Then we have the total income and expenditure for that goal, some of the key initiatives, and then the key performance indicators. The key performance indicators are what we will report back to council on each quarter, as we're required to do under the Act.
Anyone have any questions about the operational plan? Can I have somebody move that we adopt that operational plan? Second, councillor Gleeson and councillor Plum. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Councillors, that is the budget. 4, 2, 1. I somebody move that we receive my report. Councillor Plum, second councillor Hanson. Questions? Of note, councillors, something I may have actually overlooked in including in my brief to you after last week was a meeting, and it's been overlooked in my report here as well. Sorry, my apologies for that. Was a meeting that Stephen and I attended with the Future Environment team at Queensland University of Technology. They are very excited about potentially partnering as the official research and development partner, maybe with Buckhorn Regional Council. They view agriculture as the industry to underpin the economy moving forward in terms of employment, and they see there's some enormous opportunity in this area. So that was a very positive meeting. They're looking to partner more broadly with us. They're operating in the mining and ag space, so they'll be good, and renewable energy. So they're excited about stuff that they know is underway in our patch. They're very keen to be involved. So there's no questions. I'll ask for 431, please. We move to receive the report. Plum, seconder. Rogers, in favour. Oh, sorry.
At the moment.
Next one down, thanks, Jess.
So how many, it was carried?
7-0.
Sorry.
And this was Plum, Rogers. I don't know that I've got it to vote, Jess. I think you're very correct. Councillors, you were all in favour of receiving my report? Yes. And now this one? Yes, 7-0 twice. No questions for Stephen? Councillor Plum. Councillor?
I just thought that you were asking someone to move 431.
Well, I certainly will be. You may. It can be now Councillor Plum moves that we receive the CIB, there being no further information request from the CEA. It could be the first time in 4 years, 4.5 years. Seconder. Councillor Hanson. Any questions?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
The funding we were chasing for Ediaca,
Yes.
just remind me, was that about 70 or how much was that?
Oh, well, it kind of varies. Depends on who I'm asking. how big I think their checkbook is. But there's an initial 12-month allocation, but what we've morphed it into is a 4-year program, and we've now looked at it as a rapid-wide thing. So we've made it because that's the best way to get funding for it. So every council wants to buy into it now in rapid, now that it looks like getting off the ground. So our request is a small part of what is a bigger pie sort of that's being sought. The federal government didn't have a program that matched. I think that might be what you're referring to. Yes, it is.
14,
Yeah. Realistically, we didn't think the feds would fund it. We are looking at the state more closely, and I met with the Deputy Director General for the Department of State Development, Tess Bishop, last week in Brisbane on this specific thing. It's now her project to get through government. So she's looking at both a local size spend, which I believe is we're in open meeting, but it's somewhere in the order of 200 for 3 years. You're telling me, hopefully.
Yeah, 200, it's at least 200.
70 to 80 a year.
So our contribution doesn't change.
Oh, you come down.
We can hopefully wind
Hopefully
out.
wind it out. Yeah.
All right, that's fine with that. And number 2, the light horse members want to come back for Labor Day weekend or something, isn't it?
Well, yes, they want to be in the march, and they would like to, and we've put the idea in their head that maybe they could spend an extra few days and come up a bit earlier and do Anzac Day with us perhaps. We might even be able to get them out to, different towns, have a light horse person lead. It's all all the balls are in the air, we're just waiting to see what lands. But they approached us, they wanted to be a part of it, yes.
Very good. Hope they come.
Well, we even looked at stuff working through with the race club, like doing something at the races maybe, and we could really get them involved because it's around that Anzac time, always is. We might be able to really make something of it and work with them. And for very little involvement, council, they're looking for an area, a biosecurity controlled area for them to operate in at the showgrounds. So they initially did ARCs where they went last time, but we said because of the May Day race, they used the racehorse area. We said, well, we wouldn't be able to go there because of Queensland racing, but there's the whole rest of the showgrounds, and they were quite happy with that. But there's nothing set in stone yet. It's just we asked them to write, and then we could process the request more formally then.
Thank you.
I've got a good friend in the Mayor of Gladstone, reached out to us, congratulating myself, but also welcoming the incoming council, and was very keen to partner and work with us to develop local government initiatives. Terrifically popular local mayor and a very good council as a whole. So that was a surprising but very welcome acknowledgement from Gladstone. Their lobbying support could be of extreme benefit to us around different cabinet tables in the future. 433. If there be no further questions. Can I have somebody move that we receive the Community Care Services report, please? Move Councillor Rogers, second Councillor Peoples. Questions? All in favour? 7-0. So this is the any questions on this? Minor councillors that are on that group meeting tomorrow, 10 to 11. Zoom-ish, I reckon. Is that right?
Disaster. They're going as a disaster room.
Well, that'll be for you, but it'll be Zooming.
Yes, Zoom.
So councillors be there, yeah. Or wherever if you have to be somewhere else, be there. You can be in. Oh, we'll talk to you sideways about where you're going to be. No questions, councillors? Okay. 434, Economic Development Report. Can I have somebody move that we receive it, please? Councillor Hanson, Councillor Plum, seconds. In favour? 7-0.
This is not mine.
No. Is it?
No, just that we've forgotten about MPIs and COIs because we've been in that deeper.
CEO, I assure you, MPIs and COIs, I reckon I'll go to my grave saying those 6 little letters. I haven't forgotten them at all.
So your first one is 4-4.
I've only got 3.
No, you don't have any in 3.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I had 3. I
No,
thought, I knew I'd build on that a bit.
Your first one's 4-4-4.
Nothing in the economic development report. 435. Councillors, I'll ask for discussion before we proceed. Recommendation is there that we do not agree to donate 20,000 to the QCWA, but we do agree to provide them some support in obtaining grant funding to assist with cost of maintenance. Councillor Plum, you happy with that? Yep. Well, you're happy to move that? Yep. Moved Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Before I put it to the vote, I thought there'd be discussion. Is there none?
What, are we voting on B?
A and B. There's one motion.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. I was reading that incorrect.
I thought we discussed this at a previous meeting that we were going to try and get this through obtaining a grant and assistance. Just
Councillor, that was at a workshop. We did discuss that's exactly the officer's recommendation has been born directly out of our prior discussion, but I'm still happy to move, put it to the vote.
is that what the officers thought our discussion finished on?
That's what I thought it did too.
Okay. Or was the other way? I need to listen a
Well,
bit harder.
I'm always welcome amendments, Councillor. I'm a big fan of meeting procedure, as you can no doubt tell. If you'd like to amend it, I'm happy for you to. But no, honestly, Gary, Councillor, we discussed it, both this submission and another one, given the scope of works is not finalised, it would be better for more work to be done. We look at some grants, and then if there's something else that can be provided as a top-up or as additional support after that process has been through, then we might be able to do that.
Okay.
Well, councillors, is that right? That's the way I recall.
Yeah.
Go to the vote. All in favour? Carried. 7-0. 436, the Buncalden Cultural Association. Same thing. Moved Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in discussion? Councillor Peebles, this one, they even referenced in their own that they haven't got a quote, currently awaiting inspection of the building. It's a guess. Are you comfortable?
Yep.
Those in favour? Carried. 7-0. 437. Stephen, you probably said 5 words today. How about you present this one? Tell us what you want to do.
So, Mr Mayor, obviously there's a fair bit of commercial activity around town, as well as residential activity. There's talk of economic development projects that we've got underway and so on. So what, as officers, we've been looking at is council owns a number of blocks of land around the region. In Barcaldine, there's particularly a number of residential blocks as well as industrial blocks. We'd like to embark on a marketing campaign to try and market what we have available across our region in the effort to attract, whether it be existing local residents who'd like to purchase a block of land and build a property, or people from outside our region purchase a block of land and also build a property or a commercial facility or whatever it might be. We know that there's a shortage of supply in terms of rental properties and so on at the moment. So yeah, we're really looking to free up a number of the assets that we've got, attract new ratepayers and attract people to our region. So we think now's a good time. And as you and I have both seen in Brisbane, there's a lot of positivity about what's going on in Barcaldine Regional Council area. So I think if we're able to run some sort of marketing to sell some of these allotments, it'll be successful to bring some cash in for us, but hopefully have some new ratepayers as well.
Councillors, just by way of a little bit of homework, I've done here, I've talked to a few, not just one either, but 2 relatively large real estate operators within our area, and they're reporting extremely high rental occupancies, very limited residential house listings, couple of sales that they've enacted privately, they've said have shown a confidence in the market. They're very surprised and pleasantly so. The rental jobs have ticked north in the last 6 months. The average increase with 1 agent was $25 a week increase. It's a bit more modest than we've seen more of our Emerald at times, but also probably more sustainable for our region. So, yeah, councillors' thoughts on the resolution? Councillor
Through you,
Wright.
Mr Mayor, the marketing campaign, I think it's a great idea, but also are you planning on doing that, like, it's not just going to be regional, like a campaign to target like areas like Brisbane or, you know, somewhere like where?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, we're certainly thinking, it obviously depends what it's going to cost us to run that marketing campaign.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to take it as further afield as we can, and certainly we'll be using online, to promote it as well.
Can we perhaps just, in answering, or taking up the Mayor's comments there, it sort of reads a bit like we're only going to advertise inside PRC within the whole regional area. I think we could just say, could we not, if councillors were in favour, that we advertise with a marketing campaign for available land, with available land for sale, don't limit it to a region.
To undertake a national marketing campaign for land within the region.
Do we want to state national or just state campaign? I mean, really, if it's on the web, it's international, isn't it?
Yeah, like.
Councillor Arthur, you got any thoughts here?
No, I was thinking about the wording, Mr Mayor, because we want to advertise land within our region, but we want to advertise that more broadly in our region.
Yeah.
Is the, and is that the wording, that all available land for sale within our region to outside of our region?
Yeah, so council authorises the CEO to undertake a marketing campaign with the available land for sale for, I don't know. We're talking about our land too, we're not paying to market anybody else's land.
With our available
So
land,
that's
so
right, it's our BRC land.
on the open market.
Council authorises the CEO to undertake a marketing campaign for available council-owned land.
On the open market.
We'll put council in there.
Yeah, put council.
But to undertake a marketing campaign for all the available council-owned land that is for sale. Councillor Hanson, any comments?
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Arthur, tidy that up for me while I keep going down the table. Councillor Gleeson?
No.
Very good. David? Plum, you haven't had long? You all right? Rogers? How's our wordsmith going?
No, I'm struggling. Mr Mayor. Well, the only other alteration, I guess, is, available council-owned land for sale to the wider general public. Because we want to, if we can, sell internally as well as externally.
You don't.
But, land for sale.
That's what a marketing campaign is, isn't it? Let's go with that.
You don't like the open
Anything
market.
else is probably superfluous.
Well, it's got to be by law, we've got to do it on the open market because it hasn't been listed for sale before, some of this stuff, so we've got to go to tender, haven't we? We can't just sell privately.
Yes. Well, we've got to go back through and work out which has previously been put up for sale and which items we can sell and which ones will have to go to tender. We just haven't had a chance to do that yet.
Councillor Plum, if you'd like to insert after sale on the open market, I think that's fine. You know, no, seriously, I'm with you.
It
Yeah,
opens up the sale, doesn't it?
yep, on the open market. That doesn't then signify to somebody in the community that we're trying to do a job for the boys behind that closed doors, so good on you. Good contribution. Those councillor to move that, please. You added it so you can move it, Councillor Plum. Seconder, Councillor Rogers, in favour, carried 7-0. Thanks, Stephen. 4.3.8. Councillors, in front of you is a sorry, my apologies. Sorry, I'd like to move a mere minute. Sorry. 4438. I wrote it there so I didn't forget. I haven't had to move one of these before, but I would like to move a mural minute that council allocates a discount and or rebate of 50% of all rate charges for the Australian Workers Heritage Centre within the region, for the current half year 2020. So that council allocates a discount and or rebate, because I'm not sure of their payment status, of 50% of all rates and charges for the Australian Workers Heritage Centre. Hold please. Jenny, am I titling that correctly?
They already get
Yeah, I've seen that earlier.
100% discount on general rate.
That's right. So whatever's on there, this resolution is to call for whatever rates and charges are on their rates bill. So sewerage, water utilities, waste disposal, collection, the lot. I haven't finished yet. For the current half year of 2020. Councillors, I've had discussions with, but somebody can just check while I'm talking that I've got the right title there.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
The correct title is Tree of Knowledge Development Committee Incorporated.
Thank you. But it is, if we can put in brackets, perhaps, would that be out of order, Jenny, to put in brackets what it is so people know?
Development committee.
Yeah, Tree of Knowledge Development Committee Incorporated.
In brackets here, Australian Workers Heritage Centre, so people reading these minutes know what we're talking about. I heard that, Deputy CEO. I'll talk about that later. Councillors, I had a long discussion with the Chairman of the Board. They're extremely worried about their current position because of the restriction on travel, not only for tourists but student accommodation, everything that they've put in. Their access through the next few months is going to be limited as well, I would suspect. They are keen to partner formally with Council to become part of our tourism strategy and become part of our community in the way they operate. There's a lot of opportunity for Council to enhance our involvement with this facility. I think, like a lot of other businesses, they're a quasi-business. They do have a business structure, but they are not a for-profit for any individual. They are undertaking significant capital works which will benefit our main street, which will benefit us. I think as a genuine tourism operator within our region that is got zero capacity, it's not an attraction or a facility or business that can benefit from local foot traffic. It's been here, it's an established thing. They have been very, very severely affected by the shutdown. So I think by giving them effectively what that is a 25% discount on their sewage and water and utility charges. It's a gesture of goodwill and good faith from Council, and it will look at ensuring their survivability of this next 6 to 12 months of uncertain travel, and will hopefully build a partnership and a relationship that will benefit Council further on. I'm new to this job, only a few months. Do I need a seconder for a mirror minute? I do. I'm happy to accept. I think we definitely did for the one in Muttaburra, but it was very controversial of nature. So this may be equally. I'll call for a seconder if somebody wishes to. Thank you, Councillor Plum. Discussion, councillors, on this resolution? Being none.
Through this letter, Brett say that it was already a.
They get a general rates, just on the rates component.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So not on pedestal charges or which is
So
significant.
there aren't really any rates, there's only the charges that they pay. Is that it?
I think that might be the case, Jenny.
Waste management charges,
Yeah,
sewerage
waste-
access, pedestal charges.
Social
Yeah.
services charges. And they pay discounted water.
Councillor.
Mr Mayor, I'm fully in agreement with it. Is there any other little tourism buildings or operators that are in the towns that are going to look and see this and say, hey, they got that, but we never?
Well, I guess the next one covers most of them,
Okay.
but not all of them, not all of them. And as we're aware of them, I'll happily move whatever I can to support them. Like, we've tried, we've reached out through our district managers in Alpha, Barcaldine and Aramac to reach to as many of these people as possible. We've identified where we can find immediate relief, we've done it. I'll gladly move and I'll move 40 minutes a meeting if I have to, if I can get given visibility of somebody who's struggling and he can demonstrate to me a half decent argument or reason as to why we'd support it. I just fell on this one last week, completely by accident. I wasn't ringing chasing this, and then I thought, well, I personally had overlooked adding them to the list of sewage charges because they operate a multi-pedestal facility. It's actually about the fourth biggest in the Shire, fourth, fifth. So yes, I hope it does, Tom. I hope that by doing this, if there's somebody that's flying under the radar or fell through the cracks, this resolution. Workers Heritage Centre got assistance, you can too. Thank you.
Mayor, can I suggest a change of wording slightly, please?
Yes.
That, 50% of water, sewage and waste cut charges rather than rates, because they already get 100% concession on their rates. Sewage.
That probably satisfy Councillor Rogers too. I think he was a bit concerned about that exact point.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, councillors, so call the vote. Those in favour? Carried, 7-0. Councillors, you'll need to amend the chart that's now being presented to you in 438. The figure will now be revised out if you delete item 18. So that figure will drop by that amount. This is what was pitched, discussed. It's effectively giving a 25% reduction on their pedestal sewage charges for the year, 50% of the current rates notice, which is due in 2 days. Councillors, can I have somebody move that? Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Plum. All those in favour? 7-0. Councillors, can I commend you for that resolution? I had foreshadowed to the Premier, the Treasurer, 14 DGs, everyone we spoke to who asked what council was doing, and they were significantly impressed that a council would be as proactive and give such, like in terms of our budget position, a very generous support. So you have the thanks of the state for the support that you have now just extended to our hotels, motels and caravan parks. Growing tourism. Councillors.
I have the eye to still
439. Growing tourism infrastructure fund. Councillors, the report's in front of you. So this, I think that the relevant things here are, we've discussed the project, we know what it's, benefits are, if you look to the back page here to look at budget implications, so this is page 61, councillors, I'll let you pull that up. Tell me when you're with me. Page 61 of the agenda. Is that right? No. Oh, changed. Oh, yeah. Everyone's got a different agenda. Well, let's just roll somewhere around page 60. Project management fees are at 695,000. Sorry. Total project that's been submitted for costing is 695,000. Council has budgeted as of 25 minutes ago to spend 100,000 out of one of the two grants. Works for Queensland on stage 1. And so that would be if our contribution to the 100 is, so that effectively the figure that's being sought here is 595,000. If it's announced, there'd be no additional need for funding from council, is what I'm pointing to here. We've budgeted to spend 100 to do stage 1. If they announce, which we wouldn't commence construction on until that project's funded, because then we'll roll it through in one hit.
So, Mr Mayor, this project, the 100,000, it's not going to be like some of our other projects that end up a fair bit more than 100,000.
No, I don't think so. I actually think in stage 1 they'll struggle to fill the 100,000. It's very limited scope of works, the 100,000, like the stage 1 element, because we knew that this shovel-ready stuff was coming. So we back into, the project over design has been back-ended. So it'll be functional, you can do it, it'll have a website, it'll have the promotion element of it done, preliminary stage works on common will be underway, but this allows for it to have just have a look at the two big cost items there. Is staging area infrastructure. We don't need that for it to happen. People can just pull up there where it's already a flat area, and the Barkey Downs underpass is the real big one, which once again is not essential for stage 1 because there's a significant area of land for stage 1 to be undertaken between the staging area and the Barkey Downs Road. Ideally, it's great to be able to utilise that full area, but until that underpass is built, it would be constrained to that section. And then after that, most of it's relatively small cost stuff.
And is this a stage?
No, that's the full project.
That's the full project?
That's it in its entirety. And then, well, no, sorry, councillor, that's stage 1 of 5. Yeah. Stage 2 is Aramac, stage 3 is Mullaborough, or forgive the towns in whatever order.
There's only one stage here.
That's the total project finished here. And I would hope that if that Tourism Infrastructure Fund continues, because this is now this is growing, but it's effectively the same thing in the third form. We've been successful in all 3 stages of it. Sorry, 2 to date. Hopefully we get this one up. We got all the Freedom Parks funded through it as well. Same grant. No, it's not. It's named something different, but it's exactly the same protocol. And an iteration of it everywhere is what would be what I would consider an end goal. I mean, there's the same facilities existing everywhere. We've got showgrounds and joint commons in the other 3 towns to use as staging points and facilities. You know, there's no need in any of this for an ablution or amenities or anything because that's being built as we speak.
All right, Mr Mayor, I'm just, I'm starting to have problems with all of these projects that we do, and I think that's caused a lot of the issues we're having with, you know, looking at those contractors and what have you earlier on too. I think we've spent a lot of money on these sort of projects that have blown out, and it put us in a situation where we are looking to cut corners and try and save some money because our bottom line is where it is.
No, this is total project. And I would suspect that things like, for example, the trail site preparations an enhanced figure. Won't need it's not like we don't want to build a bitumen road for these guys. That just takes away from the point of the whole concept. put an arrow in here and an arrow in there and turn here and turn there. And the underpass is obviously the most difficult thing of all. Councillors, questions?
Mr. Mayor, did you say that, what's the toilets and all that like? Did you say we don't have, there's no need for toilets and everything, but it says here
It's
toilets.
in stage 1. Sorry, so that's the total project, Melinda,
Oh, okay.
if we get the funding. But if we don't get the funding and we just do what we do, there's no need to build anything else because we can just utilise what's already there.
Yeah.
That's right. So the 100,000 will build us the trail site preparation, signage, a bit of Rod F design construct, and that's about it.
And Mr Mayor, the funding guidelines say that the project again has to be shovel ready, so commence within 3 months of approval, create new jobs, build sustainable and new and improved infrastructure to enhance tourism, increase overnight visitor numbers and expenditure, and deliver regional economic benefits. We've registered the project, which is just the first step that we had to do. Now we need to submit a full business case. So again, this is a project based on these costings that are there, that we do have a full business case for this particular project.
Mr. Mayor, through you, with the Freedom Parks, we run into an issue about using our own staff. Is there any issues here with that?
Through you, Mr Mayor, from what I've read in the guidelines so far, that yes, you need to use contractors, not your own labour.
Hence why someone's out of the room.
Sorry?
Hence why someone's out of the room.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely won't be able to use our own staff on plan.
No, just as long as we do that right from the start, like we did with the Freedom Parks.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Councillor Plutton, happy to move. Councillor Rogers, second. Those in favour? Against? 6-0. Councillor Arthur. I need a coffee, sorry. I'm going to adjourn for 10 minutes, grab a coffee and have a quick break.